So I played Valorant and I wanted to talk about something, but let me just like show you the clip so you know what I'm like talking about.
What are you?
Human?
No, but you could be a robot. I just have to check.
I am not a robot.
Are you a she, he, or they?
Whatever you want to call me.
I identify as a helicopter.
What is the model number?
No, we don't have one.
I feel like if you identify as a helicopter, you would like know the manufacturer and so on. It feels like you're LARPing.
Clove, I just want to be like very respectful, but I saw your flag. I know a person, IRL, that was born a female and wants to be a man. Is a man, so that's why I wanted to know like whatever I could use for you.
And you thought that like you can like start the conversation by doing like an identify as a helicopter joke?
I mean, yeah.
Interesting. A few things that I have for that is like, okay, it's pretty awkward to, you know, lead, to have probably your boyfriend lead with like, what are you? And then trying to make it like about pronouns. Like, to be fair, she was like, oh yeah, are you he, she, or they, or something in between, or something like, you know, it's kind of like trying to ask me in a woke way. But it's Valorant and my pronouns do not matter. You do not need to know my pronouns. You don't need to like put me in a certain box just because you see the trans flag and you recognize it as a trans flag. You know, like my voice is androgynous. This guy in this game was also like, oh, you sound zesty, you know, being like, oh, you sound like a feminine gay man. It is just like interesting that like people cannot comprehend that they do not need to know what the fuck I am. But like if you're talking to me and not at me or about me, you don't need my pronouns, actually, right? You're going to call me Clove because that's the character that I'm playing. You can just be like they or something if you do need to like insert yourself in a conversation. But as like a trans person, as somebody who has played video games for a really long time, I can tell you that the majority of people who have asked me for my pronouns or like asked me if I'm a boy or a girl do not ask in good faith. They are just like wanting to know how they can treat me, how they can like hurt me more, right? Like if I'm like, oh yeah, my pronouns are she, her, I'm a trans woman or something. And then they're going to be like, oh my God, no, you're not. You're actually just a man. Or the other route would be like, he, I mean she, right? I had like this one clip where somebody inserted himself into like conversations the moment I told him my pronouns, right? Like I was like, okay, I'm going to like show you how this actually like stereotypically goes and why I do not, you know, just play into that. This guy was answering questions for me just so he can be like, he, I mean she, right? And then at some point he just like dropped the bit when he thought that I muted him. Second point is like doing an I identify as a helicopter joke in 2026, not realizing that this is just like to make fun of trans people, not actually just like a funny, silly little joke, is kind of wild to me. I don't really get it. It's not a joke. It's not a funny haha. It's just trying to like mock us, right? It's like, if you can take hormones and do makeup and call yourself a woman, why can't I paint myself black and call myself black? That is like trans people being mocked. And in the same way, the helicopter joke is being used. It has been used. They had like the same joke for like 14 years and people are still using it as if it's like funny. Haha. It's not clever. It's not smart. It's not creative, but they are still using it. And then the third thing, if you know trans people, right? Like obviously it's like very, you know, awkward to be like, oh yeah, I know somebody who was born female and then wants to be a man, who is a man, right? Like, you know, correcting. But I think there's like a lot of like underlying ignorance, a lot of like underlying transphobia, because a lot of cis people only know about trans people because transphobes are talking so much about us, right? Transphobes are always like, oh, you make it your entire personality. Meanwhile, Fox News has posted more articles about trans topics than LGBTQ news outlets. Trans people do not talk as much about trans things as like right-wingers talk about us. It's a lot of like normalizing transphobic talking points, right? Like if you want to like look out for resources, a lot of cis people sadly only want to hear about trans people from other cis people. They don't actually want to go out there and like go get involved in like, you know, trans communities. Also because they think that like us educating them is us shaming them, is us making them feel like they are horrible people because, you know, they have like internalized transphobia or something, right? Like us educating them, us like pointing things out, us explaining like the degendering that they are doing, the microaggressions, portraying us as like other, the oh, you're the best of both worlds type of like things. Like if we point this out, we are saying that they are bad allies and they want to be praised. They want us to pat them on the back and be like, oh yeah, you're so supportive, you're so cool because you entertain my delusions and use my preferred pronouns, right? Like that's how they think. They don't view trans women the same way they view cis women. They think that we need to like earn our pronouns. We need to like match certain expectations in order to, you know, be valid in our gender identity. Like these are the things, and we point that out. We say how like that is transphobic, and then they just like completely dismiss us, which is why they don't want to engage in a lot of like trans spaces. If you know a trans person, chances are also, if you're friends with a trans person, they don't actually have like the stamina, the energy to just like constantly explain these things to you, right? Like we deal with our own things. Obviously this is a video game. I will not go into like deep conversations in like a game that is over in 10 minutes. A lot of people in your circle will probably not just constantly like challenge you, right? The bar for like trans support is so incredibly low. A lot of us are just happy when people are just, there's a woman, you're a trans woman, I use she, her pronouns for you, and you do your thing. That is like, you know, what is like seen as like very good support for the trans people, for the trans community, and we need to be like thankful for that. But a lot of trans allies, a lot of LGBTQ allies in general do not want to like educate themselves on like systemic issues. They don't want to like understand the trans experience. They don't want to like see what is happening all of the time. Like I post these shorts, right? I obviously make a lot of like fun of like transphobes and so on, but I'm showing you how I am being treated. If you watch my streams, there's a lot of like, you know, silent lobbies. There are a lot of like moments, you know, people giving callouts or whatnot. But like in general, a lot of these things happen very frequently. And I have learned in my 30 years of being on this planet how to engage with people like this in a way that is fun to me. If somebody calls me a femboy, I will play into it. I'm not a femboy. I do not really identify with that. I play into it because I don't want to like fight all of the time. I don't want to be like, no, I'm actually just a woman, and then hear all of the time how actually by my voice they can tell that my penis is very big. You know, I don't need to have like this conversation over and over again. Anyways, if you are a trans ally and you want to like understand, you want to see like the trans experience, the best you can do is actually just like watch trans content. If you want to watch content like me, if you want to like go into like the stream and just like, you know, hear me talk about like these things, like that is already doing way more than a lot of our allies actually do. If you educate yourself on like the propaganda that like right-wing and like mainstream news are like pushing in order to portray us trans people as like evil, if you educate yourself on that, if you look deeper into that, that is doing way more than a lot of quote-unquote trans allies are doing right now. If you watch trans creators, if you hear about like our struggles, if you hear about like what we are going through, that helps give you like a broader picture. You might not resonate with that. You might not understand what we are actually dealing with. Maybe it actually does resonate with you, but like in a different way, right? Like cis people can have a level of gender dysphoria, right? Like a cis boy with gynecomastia feeling insecure because he has breast growth and wants to get them removed. Like that is a level of dysphoria, right? Because like it doesn't match what they are seeing, what they are feeling. So there should actually be like a level where cis people can understand the trans experience to like a certain extent, but they will never understand what it's like to live through the constant transphobia, the trans misogyny, the hatred, the ostracization, the fact that you have like imposter syndrome and all of these things. Like they will never like understand that, or like the majority will not understand that. I don't want to like generalize too much, but like the majority of people, of cis people, do not understand that. Right? The constant othering, like the microaggressions, like if you start realizing these things, if you are a trans person and you know how people will treat you differently, even if you have like our allies, they see you in like a circle of like people, they see you and they're like, what are your pronouns? Because they can't really like place you and they want to be like nice. And then they go to like everybody else who is, you know, a cis person, and they need to like introduce themselves with their pronouns so you don't feel other. There are a lot of instances where if you're not in this group, they would probably not have like a little circle where they like share everybody's names and pronouns, right? If I'm going into a lobby, the majority of people who, you know, have like the questions of like, are you a boy or a girl? What are your pronouns? Do you like men? They mainly just ask me. It doesn't happen a lot that I am in a Valorant match where somebody is going around asking everybody for their pronouns, but then they hear like somebody's voice like mine, or they see like the trans flag, and then suddenly they need to know how to place me, how to box me. That is not supportive. And a lot of our trans allies will sit there and be like, yeah, but at least they're curious, at least they're like trying. Not understanding the underlying transphobia, dismissing it, trying to like gaslight me, being like, actually, you need to be like thankful that they even asked you, because like, you know, it's like so difficult to actually know how to like handle situations like this when there's like a trans person existing. I have a trans flag, right? I don't have a trans flag to signal to cis people that they can ask me about my genitals, that they can ask me like all these invasive questions. They are not entitled to know my sex life. I have the trans flag so other trans people feel seen. Obviously, I turn it into content, but just imagine I was just like playing the game. Just imagine I was not actually streaming. And then you'll see that this is just like our normal everyday experience when we play video games, when we exist. This also does not just happen in Valorant. It happens in real life. It happens on the street where people just like, you know, clock you as trans and then think that they can like ask you about like all of these things. This is just like our experience. Our allyship when it comes to, you know, cis people being allies to like the trans community, it has a long way to go. More cis people need to educate themselves on trans topics and actually do research and not just like feel entitled to have trans people tell them everything that they need to know. The resources are out there, the videos are out there, the content is out there. You can just like watch, you can, you know, read about like dysphoria, you can read about like how, you know, right-wing propaganda works. Like you can educate yourself on like all of these things and you can reevaluate, right? Like you can do like a little bit of introspective and be like, hey, do you actually view trans women just the same way you view cis women? If no, why not? Like creators I've seen have said, I don't want to have to explain to you the brutality that our people face every day. Learn about it yourself. Yeah, exactly. Like it's exhausting. It is exhausting to have to educate cis people all of the time, individually, right? Like people sliding into my DMs being like, I don't think trans people are valid. I don't think trans women are real women. Can you debate me on that? And that's essentially what a lot of like our quote unquote allies are doing, just a little less blatant. And then they try to like gaslight you and frame it as like supportive because they ask for your pronouns. It's not that hard to educate yourself, but you know, you have to be willing. It has to come from you. And if you're not actually like willing to understand why the I identify as a helicopter joke is not a joke, it's just mocking trans people, then I don't owe you a supportive, a casual, a normal conversation. Just because you then start backpedaling and being like, I know a trans man in real life. Anyways, that's what I wanted to talk about. Be a better ally.